You're still watching Today with John and Helen live. And if you've just tuned in, you missed the brilliant conversation on the non-emergence of women in Nigerian politics with Fabia Ogumeko. Now, it's time for us to meet our next guest, Dr. Patrick Ijewere, a familiar face. He's a regular on this show, and we're so happy to have him again. Doctor, you're welcome.
Okay.
John, good morning, Helen. Delighted.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Dr. Ijewere is the medical director of CARIB Health Medical Center here in Lagos. And there's so many things happening around. You've constantly showed us the best way to go. Go back to the Garden of Eden. I guess that's where we're picking up this conversation from today. Back to the Garden of Eden, especially now that we must eat right on a very tight, maybe no budget whatsoever. All right? Okay.
Well, the subject is so crucial, to the overall well-being of the family, particularly. And we are eager to pick up on all the tips, especially in these austere times. Again, welcome, Doctor. Let's get to it. This is becoming an emergency for us. In the last few months, Nigerians have been on a roller coaster. New currency notes, no cash, and to capital, food prices have gone through the roof. And how did we get there? Let's start with that.
That's a tough question for a medical person to answer. How did we get there? I would say we failed to look within our own garden. We've allowed a lot of non-indigenous patterns, political patterns, social patterns, economic patterns to dominate our life today. And we're paying the price for it now. Probably later on I could share. If you look at our history, going back to the ancient kingdoms we had, Benin Kingdom, Yoruba Kingdom, you find that we had structures, political structures, social structures that worked, that were even admired by the earliest Europeans who came. In their books, they documented the marvelous organizational structures that these communities and kingdoms had. But we disregarded all of them to adopt literally a foreign model that is woefully expensive, just too expensive. It's very disuniting. It's disintegrating to society, to our values, to our norms, and it's just putting the foundation for a very dysfunctional society as we go forward.
Wow.
So how did we get there? We abandoned our own garden.
Yeah, and I see the picture of you sucking your agbalumo, which you posted the other day.
Okay, Doctor.
So really, the word garden is used both literally and metaphorically.
Yes.
All right, so at a time like this, where the storehouse is almost empty in almost all of the homes, could we have fared better if we had reserve? Maybe on the national level?
On the national level, community level, and also on the individual level. I love to go back to my grandmother and great-grandmom. And when it was mealtime, they just go to the backyard and pluck the herbs to prepare the soup. When it was illness time, same thing. Come on, exactly what herbs to go and take to put into the pot to steam you. So on the individual level, let's begin to create small gardens. Yes, if you've built all around you, begin to uproot some of that concrete, those interlocking blocks, and put some soil, some good soil, and plant something you enjoy, something you like to use often, whether it's ugu or it's spinach or it's efirin. On a community level, I have a colleague who works...
Because everywhere is actually interlocked. Now you've mentioned it.
We've concreted or cemented or interlocked everywhere.
Now, Doctor, could we take a closer look at that? Because, I don't have any problem with the rural areas. I don't have as much problem with the rural areas where you're likely to find more land to play around with. But you see, in urban centers, it's not just the concrete. We're building vertically. We're now living on high-rise buildings. Is it still possible for us to have little reserves?
Well, as you go around, many of the high-rise buildings...
Gardens, I mean.
...have balconies.
Balconies.
So start with potted plants. Spinach does awesome, does beautifully on a potted plant. You could start with just a potted plant, small ones, large ones, on the balcony, or even on the window ledge. Something simple.
And you could even collaborate with neighbors
Bingo.
on a patch of land. And
Yes.
do something.
I have a couple colleagues out in the Ijewere area. They're urban gardeners, and they teach urban gardening.
Okay.
Front, side, back. And they teach communities. One person grows certain items, another person grows certain items. And they exchange.
Yeah, that sounds
community gardening.
ingenious. Yeah.
Wow. You know, now you're talking about it, one of the means of making a lot of money today is in the real estate business. And maybe this information, this enlightenment process, should be something that they're discussing in their internal meetings and all. Because they are the ones who allocate the lands and everything is given to structures. And the garden is almost not given a thought. So given the limited space most people have, what kinds of crops, if we must go back to the garden, what kinds of crops can we have around us? For example, we can plant yam. Can we plant yam?
I have a colleague who said, yes, you can.
Yes,
Or
you
rice?
No, well, you could, but really, crops that grow rapidly, small amount of soil. For large part, vegetables do well in that kind of setting.
Okay.
Some of our fruits, such as the tomatoes, some of our root plants, sweet potatoes, orange-fleshed sweet potatoes, cocoyam, they do well in those
In
limited
small spaces. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. I always say I always say to people that we're so blessed in this country. If you eat and wash your plate and throw the water in the corner of your garden without even touching it, come back in a week and you probably find peppers growing.
Right.
We're
Exactly.
so blessed. But it's like maybe that's even our undoing when we have too much.
True.
We have too much. Now, you were talking along the lines of education, right? Because for me, I'm a total novice. I don't even know where to scratch to put a seed, right? How do we get the know-how for this all-important farming or gardening that you're talking about?
If I may share two stories.
Yes, please.
When we moved back home from the US in 2008, the Megad at the house had been working there for about 10 to 15 years. Behind the house is actually a mango tree.
Okay.
We moved in around August, September 2008. 2009 mango season, it barely bore any fruit. The Megad, who was from Kano, used to be a farmer up north. And he said to us, Oga, don't worry. You see, as soon as you and your picking, when I don't come now, we have 4 children. Then they play for backyard. Then they run, then they sing, then they shout, then they cry, then they play, plenty. So don't worry. See, this tree, then they hear. 2010, mango season,
Yeah.
there was fruit on that tree. 2011 mango season, if you walk into my compound, my backyard, and you didn't bump your head on a mango fruit, you're not in my compound.
Just with the introduction of life and activity.
Yes,
Wow.
that's education. The plants are living things, not just stationary, but they're interacting with us 24/7. We've forgotten that knowledge.
Yeah. Some people sing to their plants. I think.
That's the second story I'm about to tell you. I was with a mentor of mine at his restaurant here in VI. He was telling me, as children, there was a particular agbalumo tree that
They go there, get
they
up.
go and start singing and singing. Within a moment, fruits start to drop.
For real.
Start to drop, yes. Next day, they'll go back there, pick up what's on the floor, start singing again. Within a moment, they'll start dropping. We are part of nature. We're an extension of nature. We've forgotten that. That's
I have to
education.
take a music career now.
I'm sure you've read articles about if you have
Wow.
very calm music
Yes.
in farms,
Yes.
the plants
Will respond.
and they produce more. They grow beautifully, more radiantly.
That's right. Yes.
That's part of the education we need to reintroduce. Hopefully at the primary school level, and for those of us who are adults, there are schools where you can actually learn. There's organic farmers who teach these things
Okay.
to adults.
Wow. All right. Okay.
Organic farmers.
Yes.
What about
Regular farmers.
regular farming?
That's part of the miseducation. What is regular farming?
Yeah, what is regular farming?
It's chemical destructive farming. Before we were introduced into this so-called advanced society, we were abundant in our production. We fed our families and had plenty to give and plenty to sell.
Yeah.
Somebody comes along from across the water and says, hey, abandon that and do it this way. Throw in these chemicals, throw in that chemicals.
Yes.
And he calls one fertilizer. Here's education.
Okay.
What's in that thing he calls fertilizer? 3 ingredients. N, P, K.
What's that?
What's that?
Nitrogen,
Potassium.
potassium, and phosphorus. NPK. But the soil requires about 59 micronutrients. Yet we call it fertilizer. Pour it in the soil, it kills the microbes in the soil, who are what keep the soil fertile. And we adopt it as fertilizer. Hello, education.
Wow.
Then we spray chemicals called herbicides and pesticides to kill off the insects that normally help with cross-pollinate, for instance.
It kills the insects
Absolutely.
and takes the plants with them.
Wow.
There was a season my neighbor had fumigated, and there were honeybees all over the place.
Oh.
I said, come. These are the guys taking the pollen to the farms in the east and the parts of the southwest. They are migrating through West Africa. You've just killed the migratory pattern.
them.
Farmers are going to suffer because of the fumigation you have done over here. That's education.
Wow.
Okay now.
Doctor, I hope you're coming up
This
with
is so unconventional.
symposium
Doctor.
or something that will educate us. It may sound basic and we may laugh over it
And
now.
so way out, kind of like almost impossible to attain. But it is possible. Now, we can't have you on a show like this, a renowned nutritionist, and not ask you what kind of diet would you advise that we focus on, especially at a time like this, so we can continue to achieve wellness. You know, because right now I think wellness from diet is a question mark. People just eat whatever it is that's available right now.
Okay. So you've asked about 3 questions. Let's break it down. Events going on now, wellness, and diet tied into wellness. What's going on now? If you had a scale, green and red scale, to rate level of stress people are dealing with right now, mental, physical, emotional stress, it's on the high end of the red. Okay. What are people eating? On that same scale, they're eating high-stress foods. Foods that are giving them inflammation, quick foods, heavily fried foods, in poor quality oils that cause what we call oxidative stress at the cellular level. We use the term oxidative stress, inflammation. They're eating foods that are high sugar foods, high oil foods, high sugar foods, high salt foods.
And I'm a sweet tooth.
These are all stress foods. The sugar, for instance, is a net nutrient thief in the body. It's going to steal your micronutrients for it to be metabolized. So in this stressful period where the dial is on the red, you need to do what? Put things that move it.
Go back to green.
Minimize the stress foods and eat the foods that are anti-stress.
What are they?
Can I show you one?
Yeah.
Agbalumo.
Foods that are tasteless
Agbalumo.
and bitter.
Doctor,
This.
see,
And it's in season, you know.
Yes,
I see it.
abundantly.
just 1 minute on you've made so much fuss over this agbalumo. I've seen you on social media sucking away the agbalumo, and you've made profound claims.
And I drive past them every day. I
You've
haven't
made
had one in.
profound claims about what agbalumo, what benefits agbalumo. Could you just spare us 30 seconds?
All right. About 3 years ago, a colleague of mine was trying to get me to import ginseng for men's health. And a little voice said in my head, hello, from ginseng from the Far East? You mean God didn't give us our own men's health product in our own garden? Dude, let's do the research. Began to research, saw some references to a botanical name, looked at the English name, African cherry, agbalumo.
Cherries.
Cherry, African cherry, African starfruit.
African cherry.
I said, okay, that was 3 years ago. Then I forgot about it. December, I saw agbalumo was out in the market. Told my team, let's research on it again. And we found articles. All right, what's the nutrient profile? What does this thing contain? My goodness, it has 3 times more vitamin C than oranges, than grapefruits and Tangerines.
No kidding.
Yes. It has huge amount of beta carotene, which the body converts to vitamin A.
Okay.
Phosphorus, which we need for energy. It has tons of fiber, microbe-friendly fiber for people with digestive issues.
Okay.
Potently anti-inflammatory. It has zinc, it has magnesium, which we need for our immune system. The list goes on and on.
Okay.
Which means it will help in things like the high blood pressure, diabetes, even cancer, as well as men's health disease problems. And we found studies on that arena.
I wanted to discreetly ask you about that.
Yeah.
So we began this challenge. And we told our men participants to consume 10 agbalumos every day for 2 weeks.
How many?
10.
I'll make it 20.
Oh. Which means that the farmers of Agbalumo now are in big business.
Oh, and if the trend continues, this could be a massive crop in Nigeria. Massive.
Okay.
A few years ago, one of my mentors, Mrs. Showememo, said that farmers are cutting down their agbalumo trees because there's no market for agbalumo. People are not buying it as much as they used to.
Wow.
Again, education.
Education.
What we did from January and February on the radio and through our social media was to educate people about agbalumo. And the testimonies coming in from folks who are consuming it are mind-blowing.
Okay.
Can we get it into our garden? How easy?
Yes.
You can plant it, but the tree gets...
It's quite big.
Okay, it's quite big.
Okay.
All right, Dr. Ijewere. Now, 10 for the men on a daily basis. If you have a family of 5, agbalumo is not food. It's not filling. So we're asking for the diet for now
I love this question.
that the family would...
Okay. Many men have shared with us
food.
that when they consume agbalumo, they are full.
The food.
They can skip 2-3 meals in the day. They're not hungry. It suppresses their appetite.
Really?
Because it's a complete food. It has tons of things that would do what? Not only fill you up, but also give you the micronutrients
That
that
you
tell your
require.
satiety center, I am good.
Then we can't use agbalumo. We must eat some other things now, doctor.
Yes, you must. Yes, you must
So what
balance
are
it
the
out.
other things? Quickly throw it in that we should eat now.
Local
That's-
things. Go for acha, go for millet. There's
Okay.
finger millet, there's all kinds of millets on the market out there. Look for a variety of natural healthy grains. Look for our local rice, the brown rice that hasn't been bleached and stripped. We have the local red rice from different parts of the country, from Ogoja, from Bakaliki, from Kafanchan. Look for cocoyam is in the market.
Okay.
There's the white one, there's the kind
Yellow.
of pinkish, reddish one.
Okay.
The sweet potato. Right now, the orange flesh one
potato,
is
In
season.
season.
And that thing's a powerhouse of nutrients also, including the skin.
Okay.
I love sweet potatoes.
Okay. Some time ago, we were told to boil without peeling the back, even the yam. Boil without peeling the back.
Yes.
Okay? All right. Is the director saying we need to go? Well, when doctor comes, we never want to go, but we have to go. Doctor, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So
you.
much. So the major thing I'm taking away is that you can have the garden anyhow, anywhere. Anyhow, anywhere. And we should start, because the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, and education is key. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right. That's been very helpful. Okay, John?
So really, Doctor, well, we should do this again. And we're hoping that our families will adjust gradually, to the new normal. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And up next is a stopover at the gym with Dolly Phillips. And after that, we will see Farron Shonuga and her guests, dealing with another eye-popping topic. Let's join Dolly right away.